Alright YouTube, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. So today guys is another deck profile, and this is with of course mathmech. So mathmech caught my eye in a couple of games because of the new Dark Fluid card. Now this card is kinda insane. Terahertz is an amazing card. So this card is an additional OTK engine that you can summon to the field just to dish out more than 10,000 damage to your opponent's life points. Now the question is how I actually do this. Well, there is a couple of replays that I'm going to showcase to you guys with regards to this card and some other two more OTK cards that you can use from the extra deck. So these two cards are the mathmech Final Sigma and the last card, which is the typical OTK engine for the mathmech deck, Accesscode Talker. Now with regards to my build here for the mathmech deck, I am running 2 copies of Maxi. You can run with a 3rd copy of Maxi if you wish, but the reason for this, having 2 copies of Maxi alone, is so that I can have a wide variety or a wide peripheral of mathmech cards or cyber sponsors on my hand rather than a copy of any hand traps for that matter. Also, we're running 3 copies of Ash Blossoms, 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence, 2 copies of your Call by the Graves, and 1 copy of Crossroads Designator. Typical staples that you'll use in any deck for that matter. The only addition for this deck is the 3 copies of Parallel Exist and 2 copies of Nibiru. Now, you might be questioning, why am I running 2 copies of Nibiru? Typically because of Kashtiras. Kashtiras is a really formidable deck if you're going second with the mathmech archetype, especially if there is a face-up, a Rise Art on the field. Furthermore, we're also running 2 copies of Gamma Seal just to remove those pesky Rise Arts on the field or any Kashira monsters that is gonna remove them or remove your monsters from your extra deck or from the field. Our typical lineup for the mathmech, we are not using the Nabla here for the mathmech archetype, but instead we're just running with 1 copy of mathmech multiplication. Now the multiplication will allow your terahertz to go beyond 10,000 damage just because of its effect, and we'll showcase that one in our replay. The additional card that I'm also running is 1 copy of Microcoder, just because we can link off to a copy of Code Talker, and then once a Microcoder is used as a link summon, you can gain access to a Silent Conflict, which is an additional spell and trap card or monster negate. And lastly, we have a copy of Dotscaper, which is a 1 card access code talker on the field. Now before we go into the Dotscaper 1 card combo and all the replays, we'll talk about the extra deck first. So our extra deck is composed of the 3 OTK cards, which is the Final Sigma, the 1 copy of Access Code Talker, and the 1 copy of Terahertz. These 3 monsters alone will garner you an OTK once you summon them to the field. And of course, if you have the right cards to actually do this OTK. Furthermore, we have 1 copy of Laplation. I've seen some other builds wherein they are using 2 copies, but just 1 copy is enough, just for the copy of Superfactorial during your opponent's turn. 2 copies of Alumbertian, 1 copy of Link Spider. Now this is really important. If you get Nibiru, then you can use the token into a Link Spider, and if you have a copy of Parallel Exceed, you can still go into your combo after that. 1 copy of Almirage, 1 copy of Linguribo for a Trap Card Negate, 1 copy of Code Talker after you use your Microcoder, 1 copy of Update Jammer for Access Code Talker, 2 copies of Splash Mage. This is quite necessary because you will summon 1 copy of this when you're trying to combo it off into a Transcode Talker and a Heat Soul. 1 copy of Transcode Talker, 1 copy of Heat Soul, and this will allow you to draw 1 card each turn. 1 copy of your Access Code Talker, and the last card, which is the Terahertz. So that is basically your main deck there, guys. Let's go towards the 1 card combo for the Dotscaper and then move forward for our replays. Let's go. And I'll see you guys in the outro. Alright, so here we are with the solo mode. So we're just gonna showcase the 1 card Dotscaper into Access Code. So we don't have a Dotscaper here. Luckily, we have Silent Mining. So here is the 1 card combo. Summon Dotscaper to field. Link off to one of these link monsters here. For the sake of this build, we go for the Dotscaper. Linguribo, So Linguribo to the field. And with Dotscaper sent to the graveyard, it can be spell summoned again. Now, regardless of the cards on hand, you can go into an additional one, or additional summon, and then you can go into an access code that can OTK. But regards to this, you can have like a fat access code with a 5,300 attack. So it's still insanely good. So we link off again into Splash Mage. And then with Splash Mage, we spell summon 1 monster in the graveyard. There we go, that is a Cyber sponsor. Then we go for Transcode Talker. And there we go. Transcode Talker to the field. We spell summon once more. The Splash Mage. or even the link Grebo, it doesn't really matter because you are now, or you can now access Accesscode Topper. So at this point, there we go. We summoned Accesscode Topper to the field with just one Dotscaper. So with that, I think 5,300, if that's the attack that we can have this monster on. 5,300. Yeah, that's it basically. Now, if you have other cards on hand, you can just spell summon one more Cyber's monster and go into an update jammer. This with a transcode, you can go into your OTK for the Accesscode Talker. So that is the one card Dotscaper. Let's go towards the replays. Alright guys, so here we are with the replays, and I have somewhat of a mediocre hand. So typically we only have one mathmech on hand with a copy of Parallel Exceed. So it's not really the best, but we can still manage to pull this off. So what we can do here is just normal summon our Diameter and then link off to either the Saman Great Almirage or the Link Grebo. But for this replay, we'll go for Almirage. We'll summon the Exceed from the link pointing to it. So we'll summon the other level 4 Parallel Exceed, and we can go into the Alan Birkins, getting a hold of our Circular. So Circular is one of the cards that we'll need to go into this. Now, since we already have a copy of Diameter here, we don't really have to do anything else, but just summon the Circular to the field, tribute the Alan Birkin, and then we'll summon the Sigma to the field so that we can gain access to our Super Factorial. Now, at this point here, we just need to summon either go into a Transcode Talker line or just go directly into the Heat Soul, which allows you to draw one card. So at this point, we go for Transcode. Transcode will spell summon itself to the field, and then we can spell summon one Splash Mage, and then with the 2 cards, we can go for a Heat Soul. Now this purpose here is so that I can draw one card, and my card or the Heat Soul cannot be targeted for a negate if ever he has Imperm. So we set a copy of Imperm and a copy of Super Factorial. During the draw phase, we will use the effect of Maxi and then chain blocking it with a copy of Heat Soul. So we got a copy of Nibiru here, so that's really insane. That's really good. In case we're going up against Arcturus, we can Nibiru that guy. So he go for the thrust, getting a copy of Harpy Sweater Duster. We just managed to, we'll just have to use the effect of Super Factorial here since we don't have a choice. So there we go, spell summon the 3 cards, and with that, our Alambertian, no, Laplacian, our Laplacian will have a negate from the Diameter effect. So that's insanely good. And of course, we detach 2 for removing 1 card on the field and 1 card on hand. So there you go. And it was very lucky. We got a triple tactics talent from the hand. So insanely good. Our guy is going to normal summon Fallen of Albas. We can use the negate from the Laplacian from the effect of Diameter. And that's basically his board right there. So doesn't really matter at this point. We can go for an OTK. So that's the typical board for mathmech if you are unchallenged for your combo. So that's insanely good. Doesn't really matter if they ash you, but the maxi is kind of problematic. So with that, we go for Terahertz, sending a copy of multiplication from the deck to the graveyard. Now you can choose to send one monster from the extra deck also, but yeah, it's much better if you send a copy of multiplication so that it will garner an attribute, and also it will trigger the effect of multiplication once sent to the graveyard. So it doubles the attack of Terahertz, and that is 11,000. So there we go, an OTK with the Terahertz. So let's go for game number 2. Alright guys, so here we are with game number 2, and I managed to use this one or play this one during the Duelist Cup. So we got 1 Ash Blossom, 1 Gamma Seal, 1 Call by the Grave, 1 Silent Mining, and 1 copy of Talents, So our opponent's going first. So we're going up against Dogmatika here with, of course, an Ibli. So this is kind of insane. Using the Ibli with the Matrix, you can garner 2 cards from the search. So insanely good. And of course, if we were a non-linked deck, this would actually be detrimental for us for having an Ibli on our side. But our guy is going to go for Secure Gardna, so this is kind of problematic since we are going for an OTK. Regardless, we can negate the effect of Matrix, but he has a Call by the Grave, so basically he's just going to go ahead and get those cards there. So at this point, he's going to get the the Albazoa, and a copy of my god, Ecclesia. I forgot about these cards. So Ecclesia summoned to the field, getting a copy of the Calamity, Calamity will be activated, spell summoning the Albazoa to the field. And at this point, he will dissect our extra deck here. So removing some of the necessary cards. Well, typically we are the ones removing the cards. So might as well gonna play this correctly. We're just gonna send in some other cards. Now this is practically from the earlier builds that I have. Nevertheless, it's still gonna be the same. Summoning the card. There we go. Sending more cards to the graveyard. So we only have 5 cards in our extra deck. So the only choice that we have here, we can't go into an Accesscode. So the safest way and the easiest way for an OTK is using the terahertz, which is very insane for this deck. So that is why we managed to save 1 copy of Splash Page and 1 copy of Linkuriboh. But nevertheless, there we go. He's gonna get a copy also of Fleur-de-Lis for any gate. So the protection with the Secure Guard is kind of insane, so might as well gonna go for the terahertz. So Linkuriboh to the field, removing the, Ibli. Tributing that monster, going for the Gamma Seal to the field, using the effect of Psychic Mining. He will negate that one with the Ash Blossom. Luckily, we got a copy of Call by the Grave here. So at this point I was thinking, do I need more cards on hand? And yes, I really need to have more cards on hand so that I can spell summon the terahertz to the field, which is a 5 link summon. Yeah, 5 link summon. There we go. So we need to draw 2 cards, and luckily I was very lucky at my draw. So we got a copy of Exceed and a copy of Diameter here. So insanely good. So my guy, since he has no choice but to summon the Fleur-de-Lis to the field, negating the effect of Diameter here doesn't really matter because we can still go into an OTK. There we go. And go for the equation. Going for Splash Mage, and with its Splash Mage, we spell summon the XZ to the field since he doesn't have any Nibiru on hand. So there we go. 2 cards on the field. Now it doesn't really matter if I summon the XZ to the field, I can still do an OTK with the help of just these 4 monsters on the field. So there you go. But we're still gonna manage to do that with the terahertz on the field. Terahertz will dump a copy of Multiplication. And with this card will garner 1 additional attribute, allowing him to attack twice in that turn. So insanely good for 2,500 plus 2,500 to its attack. So that's 5,500. Plus the effect of Multiplication, double its attack, so 11,000. So attack on that, use the effect of Secure Guard now. Doesn't take any damage, but does a second attack. Boom. There we go. That's an OTK for the Dark Fluid. Alright guys, so game number 3, this is typically my earlier builds where I use a copy of Lady the Bug and a copy of Raigeki as well. So I also am using a copy of Drill and Lock in this build, which is kind of annoying for this deck. So I just removed the Drill and Lock in some of the builds. So typically the one that you saw earlier is the latest build that I actually made. The only purpose that I'm showcasing this is because this is the Accesscode OTK. So we got a copy of Lady Bug, 1 Diameter, 1 Circular, 1 Superfactorial, and 1 Ash Blossom. So our opponent is going first, as usual. And this is typically the Purrely deck. So I was just gonna, I don't want to go into Ash Blossom this guy because we just need to check what deck he's using. So going for Purrely and then going for my friend Purrely. He's gonna use the effect of my friend Purrely. We Ash that one because that is the most important card to Ash. At least he can search any other cards. But there we go, going for Happy Memory. And Raigeki was the very important card for this build as well because he didn't get a copy of the Leap. So this might be very important for us in a bit. And that's one of the reasons why we can OTK the guy. So there you go. He's just gonna attach more materials. There we go for Linkuriboh, and just end the turn there. So during my turn, I was so lucky to get a copy of Raigeki here. He's gonna get 1 card, doesn't really matter because we can do an OTK. So there we go. And then we can do our combo. So let's just fast forward this. Circular, sending a Sigma to the field, go for Diameter, normal summoning, spell summoning the Sigma, and getting an equation from the Circular. Splash Mage to the field, spell summon the Sigma again, and we go for Update Jammer. So at this point, go for that what you call this? The Transcode Talker. Transcode Talker spells summon the update jammer, and then you link these two cards into the Accesscode Talker. So there we go. Accesscode to the Talker, and then use the effect of update jammer. So we have game, and it can attack twice. There we go. So that is game number 3. Let's go for game number 4. Alright guys, so here we are with game number 4, and we have 2 copies of Diameter, 1 copy of Exceed, 1 Cold Grave, and 1 copy of Triple Tactics Talent. So we're going first, and we are dealing with Traptrix. So the only choice that we have here is to go for Diameter, go into the Link Grebo. Now the purpose for Link Grebo, if ever our opponent is going to be Imperm, or it will Imperm or Exceed, because that's the only choice that, or the only out that they can make, which he actually does. We can go for Link Grebo, Tribute itself, negate the Imperm. I was very confident enough because we already have a copy of Called by the Grave on hand. So we spell summoned the Exit to the field. And now at this point, we can just go into Circular from the search of Alambertian. There we go. So Alambertian, getting a copy of Circular. And with that Circular to the field, sending a copy of Sigma. Use the effect of Alambertian. We don't want to use the effect of Sigma here because it will be banished once we'll use the effect. So might as well gonna go for that, and then link off into a copy of Splash Mage. Splash Mage will then spell summon. Now we are only limited to Heat Soul here, so it's not really a problem, because that's what we can only do actually. So there we go. Heat Soul to the field. Use the effect, we draw 1 more card. Luckily, it was a second copy of Called by the Grave. Now the reason why I want to showcase this one, because this is the OTK for Dark Fluid. That's one choice there. Also, this was one of my misplays that I did. So we managed to, we were actually Nibiru'd here. So I didn't have a choice, because I should have saved my Parallel Exceed before that. If I had another mathmech card on hand, I would have saved my Parallel Exceed if ever we'll get Nibiru'd. But we can't do anything about it, so might as well. We can just look at our opponent's hand. We know that he's using Traptrix, sending 1 card from the hand to the graveyard, or to the deck, I mean. And then that's basically it. We have 2 Colbert Graves and 1 Super Factorial. We're just waiting for the Trap Garden here, because that's very important. One reason why I want to save this one to his hand rather than the other Traptrix monster. So there we go. And then spell summon the Laplacian to the field. So send to the graveyard the Nibiru and the Garden with 1 card on hand, sent to the graveyard. So his only choice here is summoning the Serra. Now I'm just hoping that he doesn't have a copy of Holatea, that card. But regardless, he doesn't have anything actually. So this was actually a breath of fresh air. So there we go. That's the only choice that he has. And typically this is game. So yeah. And we got an Imperm. Of course, we got an Imperm. Diameter to the field, spell summon is Sigma. Go for Splash Mage. Splash Mage will spell summon another Cyberse monster. Go for Transcode Talker, and then with Transcode Talker spell summoning another Link monster, we go for Dark Fluid. So there we go. So like I said a while ago, always save your Parallel Exit if you'll get Nibiru'd, because you'll use the token into a Link Spider, so that you'll use your Parallel Exit. But if you don't have other choice to spell summon another Cyberse monster, then might as well go for Exit. But anywho, that is game number 4. Let's go for the last game. Alright guys, so last game, and this is one of my earliest build where I said earlier that I am using Drill and Lock. So yeah, this was actually scuffed off. So the latest one that I showcased earlier was my latest build. Anyways, we have a copy of Drill and Lockbird, 1 Sigma, 2 copies of Edition, and 1 Super Factorial. Not really the best of hand, but we can manage. Our opponent is using a stun deck, so very annoying on a 50 or 60 card deck. Wow, this guy. But yeah, he's gonna chain with Maxi during our draw phase. We can't do anything else but set up a mediocre board. And that's one of the reasons why Maxi is very dangerous against this deck. We can't do anything else if he uses Maxi and we don't have an out. That's one thing to take note about mathmech decks. So the only thing we can do is just use the Drill and Lock here, since that is our only choice to avoid him from spell summoning any monsters. So we go for Splash Mage. I think we got Imperm here, if I remember it correctly. Yeah, we got Imperm as well. So to top it all off from the Maxi, and we can't gain access to our cards, and that's one problem there. So might as well gonna go for a copy of Heat Soul from the Addition Summon, and that's basically it. We can't do anything else. We don't have the right cards also in the graveyard, so we are doomed. So, but anyways, he's using trap-based decks, so typically we can't do anything else. We can't use the Super Factorial because he has a copy of Necro Valley, I mean. So out of all the cards that he actually drew in a 60-card deck, he got a copy of Necro Valley. Insanely good. And of course, the Fossil Dyna face down on the field. So annoying as it is. So what we can do is just typically summon our monsters if we have, which we can't spell summon because we got Barrier Statue. So yeah, I'm just gonna fast forward this. Typically, I just set the copy of Multiplication here, and we got an Imperm. We'll use that one if we got another mathmech card. So he's just gonna attack the monster. There we go, smart guy. And then for our turn, we were very lucky here because we got a copy of Signet Mining. So this was the card that we really need for an OTK. And the reason why I want to showcase this build as well, or this replay, is because this is the Final Sigma OTK. There we go. So this guy is just livid. There we go. So we make Multiplication into a level 8, and we go for Final Sigma. So at this point, Final Sigma is under the graveyard. We will double the attack of Final Sigma, and anything that Final Sigma deals damage to is multiplied as well. So yeah, OTK. So that is the replays, guys. Let's go back to the outro. Alright, ladies and gents, those were the replays, and that is the deck profile for you guys today. Hope you enjoy this kind of content. Like and subscribe for more contents like this. I'll showcase another build where we're using Kashtiras with another archetype, but yeah, I'll showcase that one in a couple of days from now, just to test the deck out, of course. Anywho, that is it for today. Keep safe, good luck, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.